The spacious, airy foyer at the Raisin was one of my favorite features. It resembled the motels you might find in vintage movies. Bradley, Terry, my sons, and I were standing apart, waiting for Lauren, my wife, to arrive for her trip on Wednesday afternoon. I had spent several weeks organizing this day with my sons, and we were all excited to see how it turned out. Lauren and I were going to have our silver wedding anniversary next week. We married young and had the boys early on. They were both attending Temple University scholarships. Even though we lived in Reading, we didn't usually get to go downtown to Philadelphia. I'd never been to or stayed in the Raisin before. I've worked in the legal department of an accounting firm in Reading for the last 10 years. I've also had a regular weekly appointment with a large retirement care contractor in Harrisburg for the same length of time. It was one of those appointments that never changed and was always there. I guess that's why Lauren had chosen Wednesday to make her weekly trip to the Raisin. It was a 2-hour trip. It's a 2-hour drive in awful traffic from Reading to downtown Philly, so it must have been important to her. I started to suspect something was going on about 2 months ago. It was just little things that caught my eye. The company had an investigator on retainer, and he was more than willing to take on a little surveillance work between his regular jobs. It was expensive, but I didn't care. It didn't take him long to discover that Lauren was driving there on Wednesday mornings and meeting a family friend, Kyle, here at the Raisin. I went into the gift shop and waited for Kyle when he arrived. He got a room and walked across the lobby to a payphone. He placed a small envelope under the payphone and got on the elevator to the 8th floor. Lauren came out of the gift shop and got the hidden cash, which contained a room key card, and followed him up to his floor. They stayed for about 3 hours and then left separately. Kyle used to work for our company. We socialized with Kyle and his wife Beth at several company functions and even got together socially ourselves before his transfer to. I hadn't seen him in several years at the Montgomery County office. Bradley and Terry had been to a job fair at the Raisin a few months ago and noticed Kyle getting out of a new red Corvette. They were planning to catch up with him and say hello when Terry noticed Lauren in the gift shop. The boys stopped and just watched. They were both wondering what their mother would be doing in a hotel gift shop 50 miles away from home in the middle of the week. I guess it didn't take them long to figure it out. About 2 weeks ago, they both approached me reluctantly one evening while Lauren and I was visiting her sister when I found out about their trip to the Raisin. "Dad, if you knew what was going on, why didn't you do something? If it hadn't been for her, I'd have wished this never happened, or at least that I'd never found out. Now that I know, I can't ignore it. Do you have any suggestions? I know a guy who knows someone who'll have Kyle killed for $500. That's a bit extreme. Bradley, let's see if we can come up with something. I'm thinking of calling Beth to see if she knows what's going on. I was hoping she might have some ideas. We've got a light class load on Wednesday, so we can be available to help if you decide anything." It was nice to see that my sons were supportive. I know they love their mother, and the situation must be as difficult for them as it is for me. 2 days later, I saw Beth's sister again. She wasn't positive, but she had a feeling something was happening. Although Kyle had sworn to be a good kid, Beth discovered that she'd done the same thing with other women. Now that she knew enough about his extramarital affairs, she was prepared to initiate divorce proceedings. She asked me to wait to take any action until she had the necessary paperwork available. Setting a date was simple, which brings us back to the present day. Lauren entered the lobby of the hotel right on schedule and went into the gift shop. She was beautiful but a little nervous. It looked like she'd made a special effort for her weekly trip, and it hurt a little. "Hi, you guys waiting for me?" Beth Shish had quietly. "Lauren just showed up and is waiting in the gift shop. If everything goes as planned, Kyle should be here shortly." Lauren was looking through the magazines in the gift shop while keeping an eye on the lobby for her lover. A short time later, Kyle walked past the gift shop and went to the counter. I could see Lauren smiling at his arrival. A few moments later, Kyle left the counter, stopped by the payphone, and then got in the elevator. As soon as the elevator door closed, Terry was entering the gift shop. He smiled and greeted him. Lauren looked a little worried, with an arm around her waist. He quickly got her attention and led her away from the lobby. He got the key card that Kyle had hidden and got on the elevator. Kyle was a creature of habit. He always took a shower before having sex. Beth was planning on waiting in the hallway until she was sure he started his routine. Bradley and I slowly walked over towards Terry and Lauren. "What a wonderful surprise," Lauren said. "It's nice meeting you here." "You can join the boys and me for lunch," Lauren said. "John, what are you doing here?" I asked. "I thought you were supposed to be in Harrisburg, but the meeting was canceled today, so I thought I'd join the boys for lunch. I called the house to invite you along, but you weren't there. I can see why now. What are you doing here?" It was obvious that Lauren was flustered. "I was meeting Marcia Phillips here for lunch. You remember her, don't you, John? We went to grade school together." She didn't notice the boys smiling at each other when she came up with that lame excuse. "No problem. Lauren, we'll get a table for 5 and she can join us." Lauren reluctantly walked. She followed us into the dining room, and with things going the way they were, she didn't have much choice. She took out her phone. "I should call Mara and let her know that things have changed." "Put the phone away, dear. The dining room is not that big. I don't think she will have any trouble finding us. I didn't want my wife calling Kyle while Beth was doing her thing." Lauren seemed a little nervous as we were being seated. The boys were being a little obsequious, but she didn't notice. Lauren set her phone down on the table beside her silverware. She usually kept it in her purse, which was on the floor by her chair. After the waiter took our drink orders, we all sat silently looking at the menus. I gave the boys a little frown when I saw them smirking at each other. "Shall we wait for Mara, Lauren, or let her order after she?" "Go ahead and order now, Mara. I was a little unsure about being able to make it for lunch. She might not show up at all." I figured if she didn't come, I could still do a little shopping. Poor Lauren was trying to save face by piling one lie on top of another. I felt sorry for her, but I knew she deserved it. The waiter brought our drinks and took the orders. Lauren just requested a fruit salad. It was less than 15 minutes when Beth came up to the table in her arms, carrying Kyle's clothes and shoes. "Hi, Beth. How did everything go?" "Very well, thank you, John. My husband was in the shower as we expected and didn't even realize I was there. I left the divorce papers on the dresser for him, and at the last minute decided to take his clothes with me." Lauren looked scared. The color had faded from her face and her eyes. Lauren's eyes were starting to blur. She looked at me and then at Beth, unsure of what to do. "Thanks for letting me borrow this. I won't need it anymore." She picked up the phone and looked at the caller ID, then turned her phone off and set it down again. "Guys, the Corvette is yours for the rest of the week. It's in my name, so don't worry about anything. Drive it as much as you like. Just drop it off at the house." She handed Bradley the keys to the Corvette. "Thanks for all the help, guys, but I have to run now. Enjoy your lunch." Lauren looked at me as if she was pleading for help of some kind. I offered none. She would not even glance over at the boys when the waiter brought. She excused herself to go to the ladies' room. The boys and I had finished our meals, and Lauren hadn't returned to the table. I asked Terry to check the restrooms and sent Bradley up to the suite Kyle had rented. Lauren had left the key card, cell phone, and her purse at the table when she left 10 minutes later. They both returned with no results. Bradley said the hotel had provided a sweatsuit for Kyle to wear while they were trying to get him a ride home. Terry checked the ladies' rooms in the restaurant and the hotel lobby and found nothing. I asked the dining room manager to get hotel security for us. There was no indication that anything illegal or criminal had occurred. The security people tried to be as helpful as they could, but the only thing they could turn up was a surveillance camera that showed Lauren going into the kitchen. There weren't any other cameras showing anything, so we called the Philadelphia police. We couldn't report Lauren as a missing person, but we could file an incident report for future reference if necessary. We waited around a few more hours and then decided to go home in case she might be there, but she'd left. Her purse, with her credit cards, driver's license, and money was by the table. Lauren wasn't at home. 2 years have passed since our lunch at the Raton. Terry is now a lieutenant in the Air Force. Bradley is attending graduate school in California. Beth and Kyle are divorced. We never saw or heard from Lauren again. I filed a missing person report with the Philadelphia police after the required waiting period, but they found nothing. I'm still married according to the law, so I'll have to submit an application to have that status modified. I'm currently living alone in a large house, and everything that Lauren left behind, including her clothes, is still here. I try to decide every day whether or not I think the lunch at the Ryzen was a smart move. I'm not sure about it, though. What do you think? Thanks for joining us in our stories. where revenge is served hot. Please consider subscribing to our channel to ensure your next chef remains loyal. Tune in for the next one to get your revenge appetite fulfilled. If you're below 18, wait a minute. This isn't for you. I'm feeling pretty heartened at the moment.